Let's speak now to PE teacher James Edwards. Now, he's running the PE podcast, which is a podcast to encourage kids to get back into sport. And here he is chatting to the former Blues and Baggies midfielder, Darren Carter, who's now captain at Solihull Moors, talking about how important having the right mindset can be.
Yes, celebrate successes and wins and good performances, but ultimately then don't get too down if your performance level has dropped slightly or you've lost the game. And that's one big thing I always say to young footballers or young sports people in general is that it's a roller coaster ride, and never get too high with the highs and lows with the lows, and always try and stay balanced in your emotions. So I think it is difficult when you're young because you're still learning and you need them experiences to learn from. But embrace every experience, whether it's good or bad, because ultimately that will shape you then as a sports person going forward.
Well, teacher James joins us on the programme this morning. Hiya, James.
Morning, Daz. Okay.
Yeah, good, thank you. And I think what you've been doing is really, really important. So just talk me through how it all came about.
Over the last 12, 18 months, the importance of physical education is obviously massive, because it's not only got the sort of physical health benefits, we've got the mental health benefits and the social health benefits. And students have obviously lacked that during lockdown. They've not been able to access their normal physical education lessons. And although some students are lucky enough to be able to train at home and exercise with family members, not everybody has had that sort of opportunity. So I think it's important that even though they're not able to access the physical health benefits, they can listen to these podcasts to understand that there is still sport out there. It is going to come back, and they're going to have that opportunity once they return to school. And it was a bit of a brainstorm in our department at Alderbrook to start with, and we were talking about how can we just engage students in physical education even if they're not taking part physically. Podcasts have been such a big thing, I think, and they've sort of taken off over the last few months. With lockdown, people have had things to listen to, but from what we spoke about was they're often pitched quite high, not really accessible for some. And we've tried to sort of simplify a little bit and in Solihull and wider afield, and talk about sport, talk about attitude, mindset, and mental health too. And it's been supported really well. We've had Darren Carter on. We've had a Solihull cyclist called Danielle Khan, the Wolves television presenter. We've had Karen Carney and Paul Robinson. They're due to film in the next couple of weeks. And I think people really understand that and they want to get behind it. So I've been really lucky in that regards to the support it's got.
Well, really good role models, and obviously we know Karen well, and she's done a fair bit of stuff for BBC Radio WM over the years, as has Darren Carter as well. And I think when you've got people like that, people that others can look up to, then I imagine it just focuses the attention a little bit more, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I think having me there is almost like a familiar voice to some of the students. Yeah. So it offers that variation as well, and they know their local people, and they talk about their own experiences, and it almost puts a bit of a routine, so they know sort of every Friday there's going to be another one sort of uploaded, and hopefully it's something they can maybe not look forward to, but they know it's coming, and they know if they wanted to listen to it, it was there for them.
Yeah, so as well as the physical side of it, I mean, listening to Darren there in that clip that we played, Darren Carter, is the mindfulness of it all a key part of the message you're putting out as well, the well-being?
It is, yeah. Obviously, we've had a sort of lack of routine over the last year or so, and I think students have really suffered from that. And we do talk about that mindfulness. In the first episode, I talked to a guy called Tom Garrett, who's his podcast is called the Blue Minds Podcast, and it's all about mental health. And he's overcome some quite serious challenges in his life, and he talks about mindfulness. He talks about how he's overcome things. And myself, I look at mindfulness, and I used to think it was a bit novel and maybe not that effective. But he goes into detail about maybe the first couple of weeks you feel a little bit silly doing it, and then after that it becomes natural, and it's really helped him. So it's almost sort of breaking a stigma with some students that they can access these things and they do work. It's not just a novel thing that people recommend.
Yeah, and also, I mean, again, we've talked a lot about this on this particular show over the last couple of years or so as well is that the absolute correlation between physical activity, physical well-being and mental well-being as well. If you can get active, you know, whatever you do, getting out there, the endorphins, it helps you feel better. Now, I know it's difficult and it's been a lot more challenging over the last 12 months or so. And has that been one of the real worries for you about those kids who have been stuck indoors?
It has, yeah. You know, we've had students come back to school this week and we weren't very kind. We started them off with a bit of cross-country to start with, but there was reason behind it. We're going to test them in the first few weeks and test them 6 weeks down the line and see if their sort of physical activity or their level of fitness has increased. And it's also to give us an idea of who's done what during lockdown. You know, as I said at the start, some students have had nothing. And you can see it affecting them, and it affects, I think, it's not just a physical element. It affects their social skills, you know, their mental health, their
confidence as well, I suppose.
It is, and you start to see it in the last week or so. It's come out in them a little bit more. They've had their team sports, they've been around their friends, and they've got that routine back. And we've had some really nice feedback in terms of our online PE lessons that they've been as good as they could be. You know, it's difficult in the situation. We don't know what everyone has at home. But yeah, since they've come back to school, they seem happier, and they're around their friends again, aren't they?
Well, absolutely, and the same for my kids as well. So is the plan, once now, obviously, I mean, the schools are all back open now, and we're on this roadmap out of lockdown. Is the plan to stop it then, or are you going to continue doing the regular podcast?
Oh, no, I'm going to continue. You know, I set it up, it was a bit of a brainwave, and I thought, I wonder where this could go, what could happen in the next few weeks. And I think sports people get a bit of a bad rap sometimes, especially footballers who they earn a lot of money and they don't really care about anything else. But I do think they want to give back. And it's been really obvious since I've set it up that so many people want to get involved. So we've got 5 or 6 scheduled for the next month or so. But I am wary that I don't want it just to be about football. I want to welcome anyone. So if anybody wants to get involved or
team, by the way?
Birmingham, so.
Is it? No wonder you got carts on then, with this the most important penalty in the club's history. Listen, thanks for coming on this morning. It's great what you're doing. Alderbrook School in Solihull. 80